Hi, Kitty. Uh, I am perfectly normal. Busy, of course. But that's my normal now. Giti, hello, can you hear me? Can you? Yeah, okay. Now, listen, I am really tied up at the moment. I'm doing a big painting. I'm in my studio right now being filmed. And so I can't, no, I don't be sorry. Oh, I can't even talk about it. It's a procession, of course. There are lots of people, thousands of people. Yeah. Okay. Bye.
As a young boy growing up in Madras, my mother told me of this painting, a very large painting by Krishen Khanna that hung in the lobby of the ITC Chola Sheraton. I've always been fascinated by this work and wanted to know more about this artist. Now, many years later, I have been informed that Krishen is working on a very large piece. Very curious to know what he is up to and to learn more about this piece. It is now August 2014 and I am heading to Delhi to see Krishen at work. I just want to start at the very beginning of this work. It was already conceived, we had an idea, and now we're catching up with you and seeing how it's going to get completed and the journey that it's been taking for the last few months.
Yes, it has since end of April actually started, in the last week of April. And it's been going on since then.
Right. So could you tell us a little bit as to how you thought about even the theme, even the most mundane idea of what you're going to paint?
You know, I think that there are two things here. One is the size which you have. If you're going to do a big painting, I can't even determine how big it is going to be. I've been deeply interested in literature, for instance. And there you have the saga, the big one. What gives you the greatest population in this story? How does it extend? Normally, naturally, without being forced. And the thing is, for me, congregations are the great thing. People happening, and they happen in this country all the time. It happened abroad. I was a great fan of Geoffrey Chaucer. You know, the Canterbury Tales, which he takes from Decameron. And it's a methodology which he takes. He assembles all these people, different walks of life, and he creates a huge fabric of human behavior towards each other, towards general life and so on. And I think that's awfully important. For instance, in the Punjab from where I come, you call it the Janj, which is the going forth to get married. And all sorts of things happen there. Savory and unsavory on the way. Actually, it's got a fun picture. It's got a very sly humor. The bridegroom is a novice. He doesn't know how to tie a turban to start with, but the convention would have him ride a horse and become a hero with a sword. Hijaras are brought in. You know, there's no marriage which can take place without hijaras being there, and they can't be offended, you know. There's a very funny story that goes, there was a niece of mine getting married, my father was the eldest. So the hijaras arrived, you know, and they died. So Daddy goes up there and he says, he gave them 100 for these guys. And they were reasonably happy and so on, and they sang and they did that tali wali and off they went. My daughter is a dancer, okay? She performed the night before, and Daddy gave her 50 rupees. So she goes up to Babaji, she says, you think that the hijaras dance better than I do? You know? But so there are little things which I think are valid reasons for painting. A lot of my friends don't think that that's a valid reason for painting. You know, they say painting has to be pure. To hell with this kind of purity, I say, you know. It does, I mean, it's like drinking distilled water. It has no taste. It's very pure.
Right. I mean, when I look at this work, and in each individual there has their own entire participation.
Yes.
It is not they're not the background, they're not scenery, they're not...
No. The whole business of the procession provides them an excuse, a reason for being there.
Right.
And there they perform in their normal, natural way.
One observes that there is varied size.
The size is very, very intended. I'm using flat planes. It's an interaction of color which goes on and continuum. And therefore, it allows the diminution of a figure to indicate distance. When the picture started, I started, and as the picture goes on, the picture changes, people change within the picture, but I also change. And I change in the way that the picture also changes.
The great thing is that he can move from very small formats, which are very small drawings, like tiny, absolutely like a notebook size, to this magnificent scale. What Krishen can do in all of this is to add narrative and to hold, it's all right to chromatically, to formally, to spatially hold and literally hold the development of a large work, but to hold it emotionally, to hold its tempo, to hold its verve, to hold the gaze of the viewer, to allow the gaze to flicker from figure to figure, move backward and forward, dart in and out, and want to go back again and again, as you do with the Maurya mural. I think that is what is his great skill.
The Maurya mural is probably the biggest done in this country.
Probably.
It's remarkable, at least in those days, or at least when you were working with all these other artists,
yes,
that there was a lot of exchange.
There was a huge amount of exchange. A large mural, a large work. It's a conglomerate of many people's thinking, many people's ideas. You pick on them, you reject them. There's a dialogue, and it's a very healthy thing. And I think you will notice that in this painting, the one I'm doing now, from where I started to where it is now, there are definite changes within it,
Rummaging through Krishen Khanna's archives, I came across early sketches for the mural he had done at the ITC Maurya Sheraton in Delhi. This gave me a rare opportunity to talk to him and A. Ramachandran, who had both worked together on executing this plan, on how they actually painted it and how the painting was finished and finally installed.
You see, this is only a working drawing in that sense. But when he starts painting, maybe that painting demands a different kind of treatment or changes. That he did. You see, even though I worked the concept, the final product is exclusively his. There is no touch of mine in it. It's only idea suggesting which girl you have to marry. But to marry, he has to do. No? So that is how it happened. The challenge was to do something.
Wait, that is exactly that. With the beams, you do something. This is the big problem was this to begin with. What do you do? A lot of suggestions were made. They'll paint over the beam. I mean.
Yeah, no. But like a mural painter has to visualize always an open-ended composition.
That's right.
The composition can open up to the other areas.
That's right.
Adjust to it. Yes. So that is why that beam did not disturb me later.
No.
When I started thinking about it, I thought we should use the beam.
Yeah.
It's a symmetrical arrangement.
Yeah.
Which also moves your eye from one to another. One panel to another.
That's right.
Panel.
That's right.
So there is a continuity of a travel indicator.
That's right. Yeah.
The changing
everything happens with it. I mean, it's a rich scene which provided a lot of pictures. With the kind of colors we've used and so on. They all connect up. It looks like one jewel box, as somebody called it.
Finally, how much time did you take?
5 years altogether.
5 years you were?
From the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah. But 1 year I just mooched around.
No, when you...
No, but I think that's fun. You grow with it. I mean, I've grown with that. And having done this twice, one was with the Chola mural, I didn't know, that was an accident.
But Chola mural is very interesting for an entirely different reason.
I know.
Because it's a very graphic, nobody used
It's very graphic.
a graphic image as a mural.
Yeah, it's a graphic.
So that way it's very interesting.
Yes, it is. You're quite right. The strength of that mural lies in this exchange between the negative and the positive spaces. And they're quite often reversed. Akbar and Tayyib first came to see it. We laid it on the road, stopped the traffic. We climbed up somewhere. Then we had a look at this thing. And, Akbar, of course, is chewing his handkerchief. And Tayyib, he says, ye baat bani na. I said, fine, now it's off, So it worked. And then the whole thing was slid into position. And then they had the good sense, when they sold that building, it was then brought to Delhi, to their corporate office. It's 90 feet long. They don't have a wall which is 90 feet long. Having done this, there was some measure of confidence in me that I can do it, In other words, scale is something that doesn't scare me. In fact, I like it, I can work within it beautifully, much better than I can in a smaller canvas,
When people ask me, why don't you do a small work? I said, look, I can only write novels, I can't write poems. So, but maybe you can write poems and novels both. 64, 65 when I came, Krishen's paintings were much more compact.
Yeah.
In the, the girl on the swing. But after, like Chola thing, and second, when he did this, he opened up.
But when Mr. Krishen is painting this current work, there is a lot of change. There is a lot of this. We saw it from.
You mean the one he's doing now?
Yes, the one he's doing now. And
I joke about it is he started with a marriage party. Now the Bharat came and these friends came, and then the in-laws brought some other members, and then there were more crowd for the lunch and dinner.
Finally, they said, why don't you put? Somebody said, why don't you put another panel with the bride? So I said, I'll gladly do it, but I don't think Ajay is going to like it because the bride is running away from this.
You cannot say he's a proletariat, artist or something.
No,
he's not. He's an aristocrat painter with all the dignities of an aristocrat. So that there it is. But his vision is like a man who observes. He's, like right from the Madura Roadhouse where I used to go.
Yes.
His view of the Bogal market and the opposite
all
side.
that.
And what is happening there and the little middle class marriages and celebrations. He is fascinated by this strange, like bandwalas. Their uniform, they look very gorgeous in their uniform, but they have a miserable life.
That's right.
That he knows, you waiting for the bride, they are sitting under the tree without even a cup of tea. So there is a kind of contradiction in their life.
They're actually, whether they're married or not, they're waiting for the wedding season.
Yeah. So if you go close and look at the uniform also, maybe it is properly washed or not. Krishen is still an artist who can touch the ground, with his fingers. So that is, I think, if you ask me, his plus point, besides our friendship, of course.
And there's this very interesting story of how Krishen Khanna was taking his car out of the Gadhi studios one day, and he had to reverse back and push in, and it's a very tight space because there was this big procession of the bandwalas coming in front of him. They are always a little off tune. They're always playing the most raucous film songs. They are like a throwback to the British band or the army band, but they're not quite any of these things, And he was struck by this. He was struck by this jollification.
The music is cacophonous. Sometimes in rich weddings you have two bands. Like this painting of mine, there's the guys in the red and the guys in the white. These guys are coming from behind the tree, from somewhere behind the tandoor, coming out here. And these chaps are wondering what the hell goes on. They're drinking their tea. They belong to a different category altogether, a different band in fact. And this fellow is talking to this chap saying, hurry up, better go, there's a wedding on, If I didn't tell this story about this fellow sort of beckoning to this person, that would ever get noticed even. May do, may not. Right. Huh? But I mean, for me to make my connections, I had to make it.
Fantastic. I'm just excited to see it grow.
Well, I always, now the feet, for instance, done the hands like that, the head like that. I could do the same thing with the same color on the feet, and it would be all right. But actually, plastically, what would happen is that they'd be left alone, jutting out, getting far too much attention, more than they deserve. Okay. So I got to wait till I fit. I'm leaving this area to be married to the next panel. That's got to work in with that, and depending on what happens there, the color of these feet will then happen. Right. Right. Because I can't premeditate, no? Yep. Exactly. It'd be very easy to paint feet in the same, and then that would be really illustration.
Exactly. Then it becomes paint by numbers, and then you've just. And as a viewer or somebody who's looking at this, I think it's phenomenal to see it grow that way. And
it's marvelous. That actually is the whole business of painting. That's the big thrill. Right. Yeah. And I believe me, when I go and see that Moria mural and I look at it, I feel tired. I said I could never do this again. I mean, it's huge. But it was like climbing Everest, step by step.
Yeah, and you have to do it once.
Yeah. इसको इसके पीछे डाल दो अंदर पिसवा दो हाँ इसको अंदर कर दो बस ठीक है हाँ इसको अंदर कर दो पिसवा दो Am I allowed to sit down?
Of course. Yeah.
Irama. मानसिंग एक काम करें, ये जो पेंटिंग है ना पीछे जो ख़त्म नहीं है, इसको इसके पीछे डाल दो, अंदर खिसका दो जरा। हाँ, इसको अंदर कर दो, इट डिस्ट्रैक्ट्स। थैंक यू, बस ठीक है।
So is sketching a daily pursuit for you, sir? Is it something that you do every day, or
pretty well?
Is it, yeah.
When I go up after the day's work here, I go up and I pour myself a drink and then I sit down with it, but no more than one drink. You see, I've got to A, the drawing. I've got to draw it, but then B, I'm also considering the color. It can't be just a drawing and then we'll color it. Right. You know, that's not going to work that way. Right. I painted this figure, for instance. And this was this is the biggest blue that there is in this picture, except in Sardarji's jacket, which is small in size. It's not a blue can be a terrible color because it can spread, it can also contract. You know, and it's something that you don't just go past it. It demands attention, you know. And the problem was, what do? It's too blue. Either I remove the blue and put in a more innocuous color. So what I did was that the landscape, the grey of the landscape, I said, well, I'll put a chunni on her, a white. And there's a lot of white. There's an interplay of white throughout the painting, which is also what happens in miniatures. Not only miniatures, but in Ajanta you have it. Then the moment I put the chunni, because there's surrounding, the landscape then enters into the figure. You know, that I think was, I was very thrilled, you know, when that happened. I can't say that I thought, I'd be wrong to say that I thought that I'd make this marriage. It didn't happen that way. The best possible use for underwear. I must tell you, you know, there's a big difference between people who were taught how to draw and so on in Europe and us. The main difference is this, that you see me trying to draw now. Now, the European artists would have had actually posed the figures there and then drawn it. So it's a coordination between the finger and the eye. In our case, it's between the finger and the memory. I just have to watch and look and to let it go and sink into my memory somewhere, you know. And then when the time comes, it's pulled out, sometimes very gradually, sometimes very painfully. But that is the methodology, that it's actually between the finger, your physical sensibility of being able to put down what is in store in the memory, not what the eye sees. You know. I think that's the cardinal difference between European painting and Indian painting.
So hopefully not interrupting and to keep things a little alive. So, what is the process that you go through, sir, when you're drawing? So I see you reworking, eliminating, redrawing.
I'm changing all the time. You see, when I do something, then either it doesn't appear right, or B, something better takes its place. So I have to give it place. I have to change it to that. Right. For instance, this whole area is a vertical. Right. Now, I could have broken it up, but I have other things in mind for that area. So I don't want to break it up too much. You know, the vertical is fine, and it's going to substantially cover the middle part also. You see. Right. And I'll see to that, because you get a darker portion in the hair and so on in the basket. The weave of the basket will take care of, you know, I'll simulate some of the dark areas in that. And
I mean, it's only a physical break, but not a visual break.
Yeah, it's a physical break, that's all.
Right.
One can't hide a break. Now, let's get down to some surgery. I gave an undertow of a terracotta on the trouser, which give you the kind of buoyancy which this color has.
Right. Right.
It's a very rich, lovely rich yellow, which is counterposed by the kind of lemonish yellow which is around it from there, but not too much. It's an between an ochre and a chrome. So you have this comes out of painting and painting alone. This fellow is dancing, you see. He thinks he's a great thing, he's doing this, he's got a mudra on his fingers. But the other fellow says, Shishe vich apna muh to dekh, look at your face in the mirror, you're an ass. You can learn a lot from dance, from the nritya. So why the hell shouldn't one, to reinforce an idea, use a language which is concentrated in a gesture? Because the gesture then adds to the force of what you're going to say. So we do that. I do it openly, but both in the feet and the hands. I don't shy back and say, well, this was best left to the dancer. As Yeats puts it very well, he says, you are the music as long as the music lasts. That's it. You become the music, I remember going to the music academy one year, and Vishwanathan was playing. He was playing the Tanarupi, which is eccentric. It is very highs and very lows and very short drops and sharp. And he tried to hit the note 3 times. He couldn't do it. It didn't happen. But what happened was that even there, you see, even if you don't get there, but what registers is that you made the effort. And in other words, the total structure of the raga is maintained in you, because you know that is the note that should be there, even though the fellow couldn't reach it, but you got the monumentality of the raga there. So I said to Vishwa afterwards, I said, you didn't hit it. He says, but I had to try. Isn't it funny, they're all dead, they're all gone. I miss Madras very much. It was a real civilizing experience. I'm not kidding. I'm not flattering anybody, but it was. Now, my problem is, see, I'm going to do this white, off-white. So the yellow has been working with colors, no? Here it will be apropos of white and work with it. And white and this kind of, neutral zones here. I don't want the where you don't know what to put in yellow. I mean, and I worried about this area. I don't know, because this is exact measured from there, you see. So there's got to be a follow-on, because the panel is going to be next to it. But I can make it follow on for a little while and then introduce something else. But I'm just wondering what. And this girl's hand is nice, but it's too big for the body, I think. So I have to change that. That fellow is all right, standing there with his fruit. Somewhere I want to put in a child there somewhere, getting fruit or something. I don't know. I'm taking a break now, yeah. So at the end of a day's work, yeah, I don't look at the painting after that. I've been working, and so on. Then I just down my brushes, switch off the light and go up, and then maybe have a drink or something and do drawings or whatever. But the picture is completely out of my mind. And the following morning when I come and I look at it, then it's almost a fresh look at what you've been doing. I'm a painter. In a very real sense, I belong to the city. I was being interviewed at Pandol Gallery. Hussain was sitting next to me. And so this man said, "Where were you born?" And before I could answer, Hussain answered for me. He says, "Bombay." And I turned round to Hussain questioningly and I said, he said, "Well, the only part of you that matters." So I don't feel a stranger in this city at all. I've lived here for quite a long time. I was a part of the movement of painting here. And as you see, I still continue to be.
Krishen Khanna from April to come to our gallery, and he finally agreed. He's almost 90 years old. It's a huge effort to travel from Delhi.
I used to live around here at one time.
Oh, here.
Yeah, just in there, past the little green building, around the 5th floor. And this is where the sea wall is. It used to be my walk, right to the end when the tide was out or going out. It was great fun to sit on one of those rocks, right down below, and this is Churchgate Street here, no? Yeah. And this one here, and that's used to be Parisian Dairy. Mm-hmm. It's called Pizza something now.
Pizza by the Bay.
No. It used to be Parisian Dairy. I think Bombay is a very special place actually.
It is.
And the funny thing is that even in Delhi, where we've been, my father taught there and came with the partition, we came salvaged there in a sense after ousting from Pakistan, what became Pakistan. Till now, I've never felt it that that's my home. My house is fine. I mean, fine. We made congenial conditions so that one can work there, and that's nice. But it's not an awfully friendly place. And my very first sales happened here in Bombay. Yeah, Homi Baba.
Ah.
He bought Hussain. So I was in Madras at the time. I left about 8 or 9 paintings in there with Hussain. Then I get a telegram from him. I think I've still got that telephone that sold your picture for 250 rupees. Was I thrilled? It's still with them. It's still with TIFR. I did a very large work It's a huge thing, you know. I mean, it's a big circular platform.
Right. Are you talking about the Mahim Nature Park?
Yes.
Oh, we shot that, by the way. We went and filmed it.
You shot this platform?
Yes, we have.
Well, that was mine.
So, and that's why we went there. And
Then I did two things. Birds flying around, the white ones. Yes, and I did that on the hill as well.
Right.
I don't know whether it's still in existence or not because it's...
Yeah, that has kind of been overgrown with the
They never
plants.
looked after it.
No, they never did, because I spoke to the current director and he said even by the time he came there, it had already been kind of overgrown.
They should do it.
And,
I mean, this is the monument to a great man.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's a lot of brickwork still around.
Yeah.
But nothing else. But this is, let me see if I can show you.
And it looked very beautiful, you know, with different colored grasses I'd done there. And a pond in the middle where the birds could come and drink their water.
So that's exactly.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yep.
That's the one. That's what I've done.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we went and filmed this, and we had.
This is from on top.
Yeah. No, this is still the version.
Yeah.
We had the whole crew put them up on a ladder.
Did they tell you that this was mine?
Yes, they know.
They know.
Yes. And what was amazing was we went there, and of course it's not planned as a movie, but it was a documentary, so we had to see what was there. And they have a girl or a lady who is like the tour operator within the park. And there was a bunch of these, I mean, assorted age group, but they were all school girls. These girls walked in and they came and all stood around this piece. And the lady says, "So, do you know what this is?" Because this is air, the sky is open.
That's right.
So we are all connected. And the kids are all like, you know, quite thrilled.
Yeah. See, I think in all art, what has to be established and not preached is your relationship to it and the universe. I mean, art becomes a venue for that. So there we were. Now, is this where the gallery is? It's a lot of work, Atma. Yeah, dry brush. Yeah. That's fantastic. I mean,
why should I buy it nevertheless?
where did you get this? Here in Bombay? In China? Deposition from the cross. Oh, it's coming up for sale in Sotheby's now.
They're being together and they're exchanging things and ideas and obsessions actually helped all of them to grow. So Krishen, I would say, actually brought to the table things that many of them perhaps did not have. Krishen's literary interests, for instance, the way he responds to poetry or to fiction, this is not something you see with some of the others. But Akbar would have brought his concern with Sanskrit aesthetics and rasa theory, for instance. Tayyab would have brought his preoccupation with cinema. Hussain, of course, was very capacious indeed, and he had his wanderlust, he had his desire for travel. So if you look at the particular motifs, each of them had some key strengths, and the fact that they came together allowed for a kind of cross-fertilization. So I would say that Krishen was as much a contributor to this milieu as he was a beneficiary of it, like they all were.
Your learning was through your association
Yes.
with these artists.
That's right.
So how was it for you? How did you learn art and apply it to your own?
Well, for one thing, let me tell you, I read a great deal. I read Clive Bell, Roger Fry, the whole jolly lot, And so you grew into an aesthetic. And when you delve into an aesthetic and you're living in India, you start questioning the aesthetic, which I did. It's a very funny story. Gaitonde and I were in New York. I had Sumi paintings, which I had been drawing. Constantly, I'd done, nearly 4 years, I'd done Sumi hardcore, but not the way the Japanese do it. My show went very well. It's all very flattering. One day this person said to me, who bought this painting for the museum, it's very difficult in this day and age to stand out and be unique. Because it's all sort of, there's a flood of the same stuff. And personally, I don't mind being a part of the flood. I thought, my God, is this what I'm going in for? Is this what my work is being dedicated to? I stopped soon. That I felt I had other things to say. And why should I prohibit myself from saying those things? So I started doing figures, and when Gaitonde saw me doing it, he says, "Why are you doing all this? And what's so special about figures?" I don't know what is special or not, but there are certain things I want the figures to say, and I'm saying them.
These people are not part of the wedding.
They're a part of the congregation. I mean, they're going, and they're carrying presents and whatever, which is done.
Are they carrying laddus or something?
Something, yes, some goodies. I may make actually the laddus here, because there's no drapery. You see, there's this drapery, which I quite fancy actually. This guy is covered up stuff. The other thing I want to tell you is that I fought, for instance, drawing. You see Sousa's drawing? I had arguments with him. Why do they always circumscribe their pictures or draw them first and then add even the same thing with big black lines? I mean, what is the aesthetic necessity? Because there are colors operating there, and you're creating this separator between two colors by this big fat line. All it does, I think, to my mind, is sort of overemphasizes something which is already there. Because why don't you work on the contiguous nature of colors? Why this big separation in between? And I always ask myself a question: is this necessary? What I've put on, is it really necessary? I mean, how would the picture be without it?
It's November, and it's been a fascinating journey seeing this painting take shape. I'm heading to Krishen Khanna's studio now to finally see the painting in its entirety. So this was kind of like a unraveling of a story.
It is unraveling, and every good painting is an unraveling. You've never done it before. But there are various thinkings that went into this thing. There are various things which I knocked out of my system to come to this. It's a new thing that you're going to do. So it becomes very interesting and keeps you penetrating. Gaze, you can't just say, yes, I'll do it, just like that. It doesn't happen that way, Now this orange here, the cloth.
Right.
See the corner, it was like a lump of orange, when I applied it. And it didn't have a shape, it didn't show anything, and it was much, much too bright. And in fact, it was jumping out of the canvas, you see, and I didn't want that. So, that took me a day to paint that, just that one area to bring it into focus,
Yeah, and I really like the texture of the jacket for this man and the flowers that he's carrying. Yeah.
The way I painted this, it's got a flicker in it, it's got a texture to it, and it's all in one color, burnt sienna, a wonderful color. And look, this seems to be the only guy with a jacket like that. And is it legitimate, therefore, to have a painting with sort of an odd spot? If there are anomalies, they can exist, as long as they become friendly to the circumstance. In fact, a lot of good painting is done with great contradictions. So I let it go.
So how do you look at that space below the stairs?
Like going down. Like on a kind of a mountainscape or a cliff or a chasm, actually. So this is above everything. And so, as you see, even the steps are going up. You see, that's one dimension which you play, and that should actually be a negative going down. So there's a certain movement.
There's also something in the painting which I found quite striking. The way the painting ends. The way the painting ends is like an influence of miniatures. The miniature as a powerful instrument of inspiration. So you have a certain kind of a foreshortening, you have an architectural sort of construction, and there are these steps leading up to an haveli perhaps, where the groom's father is going to go up bearing his thali of laddus. But the way it has been treated, I think this could possibly open up newer avenues for Krishen, because he used construction like this in the Christ cycle of paintings, but that was 30 years ago. Now he returns to it, but what he's managed to do in that last one frame is actually breathtaking because it is so skillful. The foreshortening, the angle of the steps, the way the figures have been introduced, the palette, and the fact that these are all the devices of the miniature, but are then blown up into this large, work in oil. This is the great skill, and this is what you don't see conclusion here, you see new possibilities. I imagine that this would well be the way that his imagination would start to flow.
That street down there is the Simla street, you see. Okay. So it's a hill city thrown in there.
So even location, it changes. It starts off in a very typical dhaba.
Yes, exactly.
Roadside thing, and then
it goes up.
Yeah. So I noticed that you're using, like there is also a blue. So I see the Sardaji there, the trousers.
Yes.
Then moving on to these trousers.
Yes.
Here, across this.
I'm speaking like God now. Really. The number of faces that I got to produce, and they come, not with great effort either, but they emerge, and they're all different to each other, which is how populations are. In any case, look, this is a five-part painting, so your eye is willy-nilly going to be stopped by that if it's not connected properly, okay? This picture will have to be connected very finely from the back, so that it appears the continuities are there. To create the necessary connection between that side and this side. The musician in white here, his elbow is connecting, this fellow's thing is connecting, so there's something leading on from there to here or here to there, you know, because the picture has to gel, has to, you know, be connected. So the tree comes in then. So what color tree do I do? If I do too dark a tree like that, then it becomes a repetition of that. I don't want that repetition, you know. So many years ago, pre-partition, I did a tree in Lawrence Garden, Lahore, of the same color.
Okay.
And that came floating in. And I said that would be absolutely marvelous set off against the yellow, you know. Then, of course, I put this figure on top, and people do climb up trees to have a look at things down below, you know.
So this yellow that you've used,
yeah.
Is it something you're using for the first time, or is
well, you see, normally weddings, these things take place in the evening. Under certain circumstances, they happen during the day as well. And the day in India is better recognized, you know, by the sun or by the quality of yellow, which becomes all pervasive. Yellow is a hell of a color. It's not a convenient color, but it's a very activating color. Supposing I had used a light blue and, you know, given it the appearance in mind that is a nice, happy day. But the point is that, actually speaking, the pictorial strength would be lost. Isn't that, don't you think so?
He really identifies an entire universe of humanity. What he's done in this painting is that he's sort of given it another cast by these infusions of this very beautiful yellow. And what the yellow does is it sort of sweeps through the painting and it picks up little elements right through. Where is the yellow coming from? I would say it would probably be his own sense of a sort of a burst of energy. But there's also, I think, a reference to Basoli painting, to the Basoli yellows, which from the Punjab hills, which he would be so familiar with, which are so soaked, so rich. And there are 2 or 3 colors which he's using to fuse together to give you that density and those shades of the yellow which come through the painting.
What shall we call this picture?
Have you thought about a name?
I thought of several naughty names. I was going to call it the amateur bridegroom.
And yesterday you were talking about the far afternoon.
It's a line of a poem by Conrad Aiken, actually, which begins, you know, thinking of a far afternoon somewhere. So Lipo was gone, writing letters to his children and to his children's children. So I call it that, I think. Huh? I think that's nice, yeah. Good, very good. Yeah. That's fine. That's enough. No?
Perfect.
Yeah, okay. Good. This is a very ancient easel from the Bombay Stationery Stores, 1951.
Okay. Because they don't make easels like this anymore.
No, they don't actually. Okay. What?
Okay.
I didn't smile.
No, you didn't smile.
Yeah, we'll take it this way actually.
What is the number here now?
One
over 5, right?
Yes, sir.
I look at it and I freeze. I think energy that's been poured into this whole thing, I don't think comes out from this body. It's something else that possesses you at the time and which leaves you when you finish it. You know, you're flattened out, exhausted. You look at it afresh and you're looking at it as somebody outside of the painting. You know, you were in it as an experience, doing this, doing that. But once it's over, it's finished, I feel glad in a sense that somebody else is going to be living with it, you know. It's like your children, when they go away, they're still your children, though you may never see them again.